All right, welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruin, and this week we have none other than Kyle Johnson, of course known in the New England wrestling scene for many years as the Vertabreaker. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us this week.
Joe, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, pleasure to have you, and we're going to take a little deep dive into your career, rewinding all the way to the beginning, growing up as a kid, growing up as a fan. When did you first discover pro wrestling?
Well, I'm a second generation wrestler. My mom, Sandy Starr. So I grew up around the wrestling business, man. Like it's the one thing that I can vividly remember through my whole life. Like I couldn't really tell you like my first interaction with it. It's just kind of always present in my life, you know? So it just kind of was something that I just grew up knowing that I was going to be involved in. It was in me from the get-go, you know?
And when did you first kind of step foot into the business yourself? You said your mom was in it. You know, when did you make that transition?
I actually I started when I was 16. I actually started out with Matt and Kyle Storm. It was actually really, really strange. I can't remember who it was, but Kyle was going to wrestle somebody on a show, but they weren't sure if they were going to be able to make it. So Kyle had asked me if I wanted to, you know, possibly be the fill-in because he knew I was trying to get into the business. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. And man, I was so nervous the night before. I was like, oh man, I got to wrestle tomorrow. And I didn't end up having to wrestle, you know, I didn't end up having to wrestle. So I worried about nothing. So then they set it up again. They're like, well, why don't you do a tag with us? Come in with us. We'll work it all out. And they did that. And before I knew it, it was happening. Like it was just happening. You know, they set it up quick. Matt and Kyle set it up really quick. Brought me in as the third Storm brother, Brian Storm. And it just went from there real quick too.
So your initial training was with the Storms?
No, actually, I didn't do any like official training so much as like I didn't go to a school. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of, I learned from everybody, all the vets. Like Jimmy Snuka was really influential in teaching me a lot. I learned from a lot of guys, man. Rest in peace, Bobby Moran from old Yankee Pro back when they were at New England NEW. Bobby Moran taught me a lot. Izzy Strait taught me a lot. A lot of those old Yankee guys taught me a lot back in the day. But I never really had any formal training. Just kind of jumped in the ring and kind of knew what I was going. But honestly, at the beginning, I kind of sucked, you know, but it was all learning, you know, it was all learning. It was all, you know, going from green to getting experience, you know, so.
And before you got in it yourself, were you, as a fan, were you attending independent wrestling?
Oh yeah. I was going to tons of shows with my mom and, you know, I mean, I remember we'd go to Killer Kowalski's, we'd go to the old ICW, we'd go all the way down to Philly back when Eastern Championship Wrestling was Tri-State, when Joel Goodhart was running it. We traveled all over the place, man. And it was really cool because that's really what like kind of cemented a lot of the fundamentals about what I thought the business was and like how things should be portrayed, you know, like the carrying feuds over from one company to another, you know, the constant touring around, things like that. That was cemented in my head from them, seeing like old DC Drake and Larry Winters, seeing them feud up and down the tri-state area, you know, different companies, but it was them two always battling, you know, things like that kind of cemented in my mind that long-term storytelling across multiple companies, across, you know, territories, more or less, you know.
And what personal memories do you have of Matt and Kyle in those early days?
Of Matt and Kyle?
Yeah.
Man, we had a lot of fun at the beginning. We had a lot of fun. They were I think when they got me in, I think they had just started working for Yankee at the time. They might even have just gotten the Yankee tag titles. I can't remember, but I remember because it was an issue for them to be able to do the PLW show, but they got to do it, and then they went back to doing Yankee. So I kind of lingered and didn't really do anything for a couple months. Just kind of, you know, waited it out. And then TJ Richter actually ended up helping pull me back into PLW. So I was spending a lot of time with TJ Richter. I've known TJ since before I got in the business. Really good friend of mine. And he was kind of influential in getting me back in after that first, that initial debut. He was the one that kind of was like, "Hey man, let's do this." And we worked out a lot of stuff, a lot of stories, and a lot of planning. TJ was actually, a lot of people don't know it because we never got to portray it as much as we wanted to. But TJ was really influential in a lot of the history of Vertabreaker, like the character. There's a lot of intermingling between TJ Richter and Vertabreaker that a lot of people aren't even aware of because we didn't get to put it out there the way we wanted to.
So when did you officially turn into Vertabreaker and kind of transition from that third Storm brother?
April 13th of 1997. It was 1 year after my debut. The way we did it was actually involving TJ. Ryan Storm wrestled John 316, who later became Don Juan DeSanto. And I think it was a double count out or something like that. After the match, I was doing a backstage interview. TJ Richter comes in and just cuts me off, kind of punks me off basically. And then I get jumped by the Throng of Apocalypse, which was John 316's crew, and it takes me out. And then I disappeared for a month, and then I came back as Vertabreaker. And Vertabreaker is Ryan Storm, just kind of snapped, like, oh, that was the original take on Vertabreaker anyway. Like, it's kind of weird. Now I don't look at Vertabreaker so much as being a Storm brother, but he originated as one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I mean, I'd still be more than willing to do anything with Matt and Kyle if it ever came down to it, But it just kind of, in my head, I see kind of Vert just kind of being his own thing. And I see Vert now more as me than I do as being Ryan Storm. I think think Primal gave me that grounding to make him the character mine and grow. He grew into me, and I grew into him, and I just don't see him so much as a third Storm brother anymore. But I'd still be willing to run that. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about the character a little bit. The Vertabreaker. How did you initially come up with, first of all, the look, the gear, the face paint, just the Vertabreaker style that you had? Tell us all about that and how that came about.
Honestly, a lot of it was influenced by old school Taz when he was the Tasmaniac. The wrestling, the wrestling barefoot, that came from Jimmy Snuka. Taz came from a few different sources where I was just like, well, I think I want to go barefoot, and then it was just, if you see my debut match as Vertabreaker, my face paint is Taz's old Tasmaniac makeup. It's the jagged shark teeth paint. It was really inspired by Taz's old Tasmaniac gimmick. I kind of really like that wild man, the untamed character, like where they weren't necessarily your normal human. I kind of dug that idea. So that's really where it started, and it stayed that way for a while, but it just didn't work. Like, I don't think Vertabreaker at the beginning I had him mapped out as much as I wanted to or hoped I had him mapped. Like, I think I thought I had more of him planned out than I really did, So I feel like when I go back and watch the very first Vertabreaker stuff, like first maybe year or two, I just feel like it's missing something. It's missing some sort of element, and I think a lot of that was the personality he gained later on, which was me, honestly, which is my personality. I think when I got comfortable with him is when he got better.
Right.
Sure. At the beginning he was more of just a character, and it wasn't the character wasn't fleshed out enough to be played well.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, but yeah, that's where it came from. Was it was a lot of it was inspired by Taz. And I wanted to do a lot of the like lucha style stuff, the international type wrestling. I wanted to do a lot of that. So that's kind of what I focused on at the beginning. Later on was when I got more grounded in the technical side and the not so just flashy side, high spot side.
And for the fans that maybe weren't from the New England area that are tuning in now and never really got the chance to see you during your initial run, you were a part of the Outcasts. Why don't you tell us about that group, kind of tell the fans who the members of the group was and how that group came together?
Okay, well, man, that was a long time ago. The Outcasts. So as far as I remember, the Outcasts being myself, Draven, Ivan Zangbeen, and Mad Dog Matt Storm. Kind of a reunion of the Storm brothers there.
Right.
But I think initially it started off. I think that Dane was also a part of it, if I remember correctly, and that was when Draven was still Dreamlord. And honestly, I don't know exactly how it came about. One day, I showed up at a UCW show, and Draven was like, "We're gonna work together, bro. We're gonna be a team." And I was like, "Okay." And he threw the idea of the Outcast at me. He's like, "Are you into it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm down with it. Let's do it." So if I remember correctly, it was a match between Dreamlord and Dane, and I believe I interfered and stopped them from wrestling each other and convinced them to start a unity, and that was the beginning of the Outcast. But I think Dane, I think Dane ended up pulling out. I don't remember if he quit wrestling or if he, excuse me, if he just didn't want to be a part of the. I can't remember what it was, but I remember he left, and just as he left the group, is when Matt and Ivan Zangbeen and those Mayhem guys came in from Mayhem to UCW and pulled them into the Outcast. If my memory serves me correctly, that's kind of how it went.
Okay, great. All right. And let's talk about UCW,
Okay.
Unified Championship Wrestling. They'd often run in Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, of course,
Yep.
owned by Anthony Rufo. What are some of your personal memories of the late Anthony Rufo and memories of working for UCW?
Anthony, I will tell you, was a great man. Joe, as we both know, I had a lot of problems back then, and I wasn't the most stand up or the most respectful of guys. Like I was kind of disrespectful to a lot of people. And one thing I can say about Ant is no matter what, I always had a home with him. Like he was always loyal to me, always true to me, always kept me on, kept me working, kept booking me. And it was a great guy, man. I miss the hell out of him. I do. I miss the hell out of him. And was a great guy. I actually I had quit PLW, and I hadn't worked for a couple months, and then I got a message that Dr. Harris was trying to get a hold of me, and I called him back, and he told me that he's like, "Hey man, we got a show and we're trying to get you on it. They want you." I told him I could get a hold of you, so if you want to work this Saturday, we got a show. So I was like, sure. So I went up, and that was my first UCW show. And if I remember correctly, I ended up wrestling Bad Boy Billy Black on that show, which was cool because I've always loved Billy, And then the very next show, it was me and Jose and Hugo doing this little angle, and I won the light heavyweight title there thanks to Jose. And yeah, it was, and from there on, it was just to go, man. And it was UCW, and then I think it was Unified, and then it was IIW, and then it kind of changed the names, but it was always Ant-Man. I loved working for Ant. Ant was such a great guy.
And you mentioned IIW, of course, International Independent Wrestling, and what that was at the time. Basically, Mr. Biggs was running the IWA, and then you also had Tommy D running Power League Wrestling.
Yeah.
Tommy D kind of came together, with Mr. Biggs, with Anthony Rufo of UCW. They kind of pooled their resources, and that was IIW. Any memories particularly from IIW?
Honestly, it's all kind of blends in with UCW because like it all was one to me. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it was there was so much interpromotion and so much of the same people there and so much of the same office. So it's the same thing as I same memories as I have with UCW. It was a good time. It was fun. It was a family environment. I wish I was in a better state of mind then, so I could have enjoyed it as much as or realized I was enjoying it as much as I look back on it now with the fond memories I have of it. I wish my mindset was better back then. Because it was a good time, man. It was great people. I love all those guys, man. I love all those guys. Those are my family. We all started out together. We're all family. I love them all.
And rewinding a little bit further back, when you were just a fan, were you watching WWF? Were you watching WCW? What was your wrestling of choice?
From the youngest of ages that I can remember, right up until in 2004, when I quit, I took in any wrestling I could, man. Like I absorbed any and all wrestling that was available. I mean, I remember times where Dark Destiny would come over my house, and we would literally sit there and watch tapes for 8 to 12 hours straight, just Japan, Mexico, WWE, like whatever was available. Me personally, I was always a fan of, I really liked the NWA. Like I was more of an NWA guy over WWF, the more wrestling and, the sports entertainment. but I was always about the independents, man. I just really liked the independents because it was unfiltered. You know what I mean? Like you never knew what you were going to see on an independent show, you know, or who you were going to see for that matter. Like, and that was the cool thing back then was like, especially with like Joel Goodhart running Tri-State. When Joel Goodhart was running Tri-State, man, he was bringing in all these crazy names, and then only like promoting like half of them. Like, so you'd go there thinking you're going to see Jerry Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich, but you have no idea that Paul Orndorff and Tully Blanchard are going to do run-ins. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so it's really wild who you could see just on the show just come up, you know. And I another one of the feuds, going back to the feuds of like the independents. I remember watching Johnny Hotbody and Tony the Hitman Stetson. They feuded for a while with Tri-State, and still to this day, one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen at Temple University with Johnny Hotbody, man. Like it was bloody, you know, and it just, I don't know, that just cemented in my head like the way feuds should be, like how they should build up to this epoch of like brutality, you know, like the payoff, the old Dusty Rhodes payoff, you know.
Yeah. And speaking of brutality, you know, eventually you transitioned into hardcore wrestling. It wasn't something that you always did per se, but you were often in hardcore matches in different promotions over the years. Do you remember your first experience having a hardcore match?
So I mean, like, we're not talking tables because tables aren't hardcore, but if we're talking actual like hardcore, like with gimmicks and stuff. I want to say, I think it was for the original, if I remember correctly, I think it was for the original Chaotic Wrestling, the original incarnation of it before it became what it is now. Draven and I did a chair versus chair match at Loco Bazooka for them. But I still wouldn't consider that hardcore. But the next show was like my first time doing thumbtacks. Me and Draven did thumbtacks. It was my first time doing thumbtacks. But like, I don't remember my actual first like gimmick match of hardcore, but I think that was probably right around then was wrestling Draven for Chaotic, doing the thumbtacks. I remember I was worried because I was real small back then. I was worried about like if the thumbtacks were going to do any damage to my spine or anything, you know, like
Right.
stressing about if they were going to hit my spinal cord or something, you know, like. But and then I took my first bump into him and I was like, oh, this is great. And like, honestly, thumbtacks are my favorite gimmick. Thumbtacks are my favorite gimmick.
So was that a preference for you, or was that more so what the promoters wanted to see out of you? You know, hardcore wrestling or technical? What did you prefer?
At the time, I probably preferred hardcore. I like to do the technical, but I think I preferred the hardcore because it was an easier pop. You know what I mean? It was something that it was more shocking. It was that shock value to the crowd, you know, like, and that's kind of what Vertabreaker was, especially in that like that weird transitionary period where I went from, you know, the original Vertabreaker to what he ended as. There was that transitionary period where he was just doing a lot of hardcore, and I think he was just about getting that gasp from the crowd that you know, oh wow, I can't believe he did that type thing, you know, like. Later on, it became more about I wanted people to see my talent, but at that point in time, I just wanted people to think I was crazy, you know. So
Right.
just doing crazy things. So it was kind of a combination of what the promoters wanted and what I wanted. It was definitely a combination of both. Like I can't put it on anybody. I'll take it too, you know. Like it was definitely both of us.
What are the different iterations of entrance music that you've had over the years? Do you remember some of the themes that you've used and what led to
Absolutely.
picking those songs?
Absolutely. So my very first entrance music as Vertabreaker was Albatross by Corrosion and Conformity, and it just had a sound to it, man. Like it was a recognizable sound. It had a good tempo for entrance music. It was kind of slow but heavy, you know, and it was recognizable. So that's why I picked it. It was you could tell like as soon as the guitar tone kicked in, if you knew the song, you'd know the song, you know. So you only had to hear it once or twice before you'd be able to, it would trigger and you know you'd hear it. I used that for a good long period of time. And then for a very short amount of time, I switched over to Mental Health by Quiet Riot, Bang Your Head.
Yep.
And then I went back to Albatross until I met State of Corruption, band from Providence, Rhode Island. I ended up becoming really good friends with them, really good friends with them. And I started using their song, Smoke on the Water, as my entrance music. And then I used another one of their songs for all my promo videos. And that's who I stuck with from there to the end. Except for when later on when I was doing CMC stuff with Kevin Charisma, we used "Blow My Buzz" by D12 as the group entrance theme. But from that point on, and probably what was that, like maybe 98 or 99 when I met SOC and started using their song, and from there right up to 2004 when I quit, I was using SOC.
And you mentioned Kevin Charisma. You referenced him a couple times. For the fans that don't know, you mentioned Hugo earlier. Hugo, real name of Kevin Charisma, another staple in the New England scene for so long. And before Kevin Charisma, he was known as Altitude.
Yep.
And prior to that, he was Double A Antonio Adams.
Yep.
So what are your fond memories, your personal memories and experiences working with Hugo and just friendship in general?
Hugo is that dude is my best friend, man. And like we've had this weird parallel life, man, like where we both completely separately, the same things happen to us. We have the same injury in the same elbow. We at the same time we both had bursitis in our elbow. Same times, just caught it differently. We bought the same jacket, not knowing. Like I went to the show thinking, oh man, I got this new jacket. I show up and Hugo's wearing the same jacket. Even to this day now, I have a Belgian Malinois. My dog is Belgian Malinois, but she's kind of different because she's black. She's not the normal red one. Talking to Hugo, and Hugo's like, your dog looks like mine. He sends me a picture of his dog. He's got a black Belgian Malinois. And that's just been our life, man. From the get-go, it's been our life. I love Hugo with all my heart, man. We became friends before I actually started wrestling. When I was going to shows with my mom or just going to shows in general, I would see Hugo there because Hugo was working. He was doing stuff with Yankee at the time, with Jose and such. And Hugo and I we started talking at shows, and we just kind of progressed. And then my second UCW show, I wrestled Hugo and Jose were running this angle, the brother-in-law angle, El Diablo and Altitude. So I wrestled Hugo, and El Diablo comes out and does the screw job on him, so I get the win. So now I get to wrestle El Diablo for the light heavyweight title. While I'm doing that, Altitude comes out, screws El Diablo. I get the win, get the title. So they just kind of pulled me right into that feud right away. Like Jose too. He's always looked out for me, man. Jose and Hugo they've always looked out for me and had my best interest, at their forefront. And I mean, I lived upstairs from Hugo. I rented an apartment upstairs from Hugo for a good long time. We traveled everywhere, up and down the shows together. I can't say enough good things about Hugo and Jose, man. But Hugo, I love that dude. He's my best friend, man. He's my best friend. We've had some really good times.
When it comes to Jose Perez, El Diablo at one point, he was the commando, of course, the East Coast intensity, Jose Perez. Any memories of, working with Jose, whether it be hardcore or technical?
Jose, so like I said, the very first show, Jose, for those that don't know, Jose is he's pretty influential in the locker room. Like he's got pull with the promoter, pull with the booker, and it's not that he abuses it. He's not a politicker or anything like that. It's just that his opinion is valued because he's got a good mind for the business. So I know Jose was very influential in that first little angle I had with him and Kevin Charisma, Altitude with UCW. And then I know he was very influential in a lot of things that happened with me later on in Primal. My biggest memory, though, is wrestling Jose, a hardcore match at Hardcore Wrestling Federation, where Jose threw me out of the ring and did a leg drop from the ring to the floor, and it knocked me clean out. Knocked me clean out. I honestly, I have no recollection of it. I've watched the video, plenty of times, that I've got the other wrestlers that have told me the stories, but apparently, like, they kept asking me, do I want to take it home? And I was just like, no. And but you can tell by watching the video that I'm pretty bad off, man. I was sleeping in the ring, And to this day, that's the only concussion I've ever had that made me sick. Like, I've had quite a few concussions, and that one made me puke, man. Like, I remember I was laying in the locker room after when I started to come to, and I looked around for Jose, and I walked up to Jose, and he was talking to somebody. I was like, bro, did I get knocked out there? And he's like, bro, you were snoring on me. And as soon as he said you were snoring on me, I felt that nausea kick in, man, and I vomited everywhere in the bathroom. Like, that's the only concussion I've ever had that's made me sick. It actually blew my which side is it? It blew my eyebrow right through my flesh. Like, so my eyebrow and the floor met, and just pushed all this, like, so like, yeah, it was pretty brutal, man. It was pretty brutal. But there's that memory, and then like I've got other memories too. Like I remember we were doing a 6-man tag team one night, and I went to do one of my spots, and we were in a building with a really low ceiling, and my feet got caught in the drop tile. So when I came down, I basically came down face first into the ring, shattered my nose, man, shattered my nose, and I'm holding it, trying to tag out, and finally I tag out, and I get to Jose, and Jose looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, it's broken." And I was like, "I know, man, set it for me, set it for me." So Jose grabbed it and set it for me. A lot of good times with Jose, man. A lot of good times with Jose. Like I'll never forget. Probably my fondest memory of Jose will be the light heavy. I mean, the Wrestler of the Year match for Primal Conflict Wrestling. So probably my fondest memory of Jose though will always be the Primal Conflict Wrestler of the Year match. Primal Conflict had done this poll online where for the Wrestler of the Year, and for a good most of the poll, Jose was winning. And then like the last couple days, I kind of shot up and passed him. And then we did this back and forth thing the last couple days. And then on the very last day, I ended up winning by like 1 or 2 votes. And the idea was that me and Jose would go out there, do on the next show, we would do a Wrestler of the Year match and go to a draw and literally let the fans decide who they wanted the Wrestler of the Year to be. So we went out there and excuse me, we worked a good half hour, I think, brawled through the whole building. I mean, it was still to this day one of my favorite matches. And at the draw, the fans wanted 5 more minutes. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, we did everything we planned. We got like we pulled out all the stuff. We set the ring on fire. Like what else can we do? So I'm looking at Jose, and Jose gave me the nod, and I was like, all right. So we just went right back at it, and we went about 5 more minutes. And at one point, he went to do something to me, and he said, "Schoolboy me, or roll me up." So I schoolboyed him, rolled him up, and 1, 2, and I said, "All right, kick out." And he kind of like pulled me in closer and was like, "No." And took the pin, let me win the match. And I'll forever be grateful for that, because that was where I really started to, that whole time period is where I really started to progress in my career, and was really starting to come into my own, and like things like that helped me winning the light heavyweight title for Primal, the Wrestler of the Year. Primal was really big in me getting comfortable in the ring, finding my footing in the ring, and being comfortable. But that will always be a fond memory of mine with Jose, just brawling around that building, having fun. Like it was just a good time, man. Like it was us doing what we did. I love Jose. I love Jose, man.
You mentioned a while back you worked for PLW, Power League Wrestling. Any personal memories with Tommy Degnan, the owner?
Tommy's another one that I've got to say is a saint, man, for putting up with a lot of my problems. Like, yeah. Tommy's a great guy, man. Tommy's a great guy. Tommy would just kind of let anything roll off his shoulders and just kind of like, and you still be friendly, still be a good guy. I miss him, man. I miss him. I miss everybody, man. I haven't seen you guys in 20 years. Like it's been a long time, and I miss you all. But Tommy was just, like I said, he was just cool, man. Like he was kind of like, yeah, as long as you're not swearing on the show or doing anything offensive that's going to get us in trouble, do whatever you want to do. Book yourself. Like right. I think for like 6 months straight, me and TJ Richter just booked ourselves and against each other, or booked our own stuff, like whatever we did. And Tommy was always cool with it, just as long as we weren't doing anything that would cause any problems.
Right. Now, when it comes to hardcore wrestling specifically, who were some of your favorite opponents and some of your favorite matches over the years, specifically for hardcore wrestling?
Okay, so Jose, obviously, when we're talking hardcore, I think me and Jose and I have had more hardcore matches than we have had just straight wrestling matches. I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. But it was always fun to wrestle Jose because it was just, I was comfortable with him. We could just kind of go and, didn't have to worry too much about detail. We just kind of did it. My second and third matches with Dave Padula were really fun too. Like especially the very last one we did, the barbed wire wrapped ring. That was a lot of fun, man. That was a lot of fun. Z-Bar, the superstar from Combat Zone Wrestling, man. I missed that dude too. Rest in peace. we had really good chemistry, and we only wrestled two matches, but they were fun, and they were pretty extreme as far as brawling through the crowd, just what we did. Second one made me second one he messed me up with a spear through a table, and like I puked blood on that show. But it was just, we had good chemistry, man, really good chemistry. Other hardcore wrestlers that I had fun with, Big Dog Wilson from Yankee Pro. We only worked, I think, one match together, but it was fun. What we did was fun. We got to kind of push some boundaries and push some limits. So I'd say those guys for sure.
Right.
Like Z-Bar, the second match I did with Z-Bar at back in Jack for Primal was that too is one of my top 3 favorite matches of all time. Like, so we had a good time, man. We had a good time. We got to destroy the entranceway. We got to destroy a table. Destroyed each other. It was a good time.
And turning the page to the technical side of pro wrestling, who were some of your favorites, some of your favorite matches on that side of things?
Okay, well, I got to split that into 2 different kinds of technical. I got to split that into like more of the high flying, international style, and then also just the actual mat work wrestling. Kevin Charisma, obviously, with the high flying, international stuff. Kid Crazy. I loved working Kid Crazy. Suicidal Silver. I had a lot of fun with Suicidal Silver too. And Suicidal Silver and I, we were able to kind of like push the limits on whatever we were doing. Like if we were doing a technical match, we could throw a little bit of hardcore in there because he could go. He was like me. He could go either way,
Yeah.
If we're doing a hardcore match, we could still throw in a lot of technical work and a lot of high flying work and still make it work. So I had a lot of fun with Suicidal Silva. Straight wrestling, technical wrestling, Ebony Blade will probably always be my favorite. Ebony Blade, again, I only got to wrestle him once, but what we did that night was really, really fun and really, really, it was really something special, I feel like. Jose could always go technical too. Jose, we did some good technical matches. And again, Z-Bar, man. Z-Bar, if you watch our match back in Jack, it's very much a mix of technical and hardcore. We go back and forth throughout the whole thing with it. Like, we've got this technical spot, we got this hardcore spot, then we got this other technical spot again. So it was fun, and that was a fun match to do and plan. So I'd say that those are probably my top 3 would be Ebony Blade, Jose, and Z-Bar for technical. And then for the high flying, Kid Crazy, Kevin Charisma.
And you mentioned, obviously, working for UCW, working for IIW, which it eventually became, working for PLW, Chaotic Wrestling, Primal Conflict, the Hardcore Wrestling Federation. What are some of the other promotions over the years that you've worked for, different areas?
I worked for Mayhem Independent Wrestling, PWF Northeast, which I might be a little out of the loop on this, but I feel like they kind of share a history almost, where a lot of the old Mayhem stuff got integrated into PWF later on. NWA New England, that was probably my second home other than Primal Conflict at that time period, and I loved working for NWA New England. Then just like a lot of little random, I don't want to say one-offs, because like NCW, they were pretty consistent for a while. I don't know if they still run or not, but NCW was good. And then like I worked for this one company, Mega, Massachusetts Extreme Grappling Arts. I only did one show for them. I think they only did one show. I worked for Chaotic for a while. Trying to think of what other companies there were. I mean, there was a time where New England was full of companies, like Yankee Pro / South Coast Championship Wrestling, Assault Championship Wrestling, Jason Knight, out of Connecticut.
Did you ever work for Green Mountain?
I never got the chance to work for Green Mountain. No, I did. I never got the chance to work for Green Mountain. They were running fairly consistently though too. Like they didn't run a lot, but they ran solid. Like what they had a solid following. But no, I never got to work for Green Mountain.
What are some of your memories with NWA New England?
NWA New England, man, that was like family, man. Like it was we hung out a lot together too. Like it wasn't just shows, because they had the WrestlePlex, in Woonsocket. So it was like a lot of time was just spent together. That's who I would travel with. We would travel down to the Assault Championship Wrestling together. Myself, Jason Rumble, Bo Douglas, Trooper Gilmore. One trip we had Tony Kazina with us. It was just a good time, man. Like we had fun at the wrestling school, on the shows. It was never really stressful. It was just laid back. It was laid back. Like that was fun, man. Like we had the Super X tournament where they brought in, all the different X division guys from different, territories of NWA. So we got to meet a lot of people and network. And it was just, I don't know, man. It was really lax and really good environment. Like it was fun as hell working for Jason Rumble, and Bo Douglas. I'll always have love for that guy, and all those guys were great, man. The Outpatient, I love all those guys. They were great. I remember it was right when my second show for them. I was in the main event with the KOD versus Snuka and Jason Rumble and Bo, and a lot of it had to do with me knowing Snuka and just the angle of the storyline. But it was just funny go into my second show and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're in the main with Snuka," and I was like, "Sweet, I get to wrestle Jimmy because I love Jimmy." And then right after that, I got into this feud with Apocalypse, and I remember everybody. We had the show where there was a balcony, and everybody was bidding trying to get the balcony spot because you don't want to kill it and have everybody do one,
Yeah.
So I remember I got to the show and Apocalypse walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, bro, we've got the balcony." And I was like, "Oh, we got the balcony," So it was exciting. We got to do the balcony spot there, and yeah, just that was another company that just let me kind of do my thing, and then like, they were cool with it, and they just kind of let me get comfortable with myself, like it was fun, man. And I started working for them by accident, man. I just went with Dark Destiny. He was booked on a show, and I just went with him just to see some guys that I knew, and have fun. And I walked in, and Jason Rumble was like, "Vertabreaker," and I came over and we started talking. He's like, "So you're gonna come work for us?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "You want to start tonight?" I was like, "Sure." Ended up doing the battle royal that night, and then this is a funny story. Well, for anybody that kind of knows the situation, so Rick Fuller was running the battle royal pretty much. He was the the general in the battle royal. He was kind of running the show on it. So I was working somebody, and I'm in the corner, and I see Rick Fuller walking toward me, and I'm like, I've known Rick since I was a little kid. You know what I mean? But it's the business, So I see Rick walking toward me, and I'm already in the corner, and I'm like, "Oh man, here it comes! I'm getting chopped. I'm taking a chop. Oh man!" And he pulls me out of the corner, and he says, "Duck." Oh no, he said, "Grab the ropes and come back in." And he threw me over the top rope, and like he said it so fast, like I almost didn't catch it, so I almost just kind of like took the dive out, figuring he was throwing me out, but I caught it. So I catch the rope, and I roll back in under the bottom. And I think some of the guys thought I was like, taking liberties or something and just doing what I wanted to do. Because I got up and Rick said drop kick. So I drop kicked Rick and he bumped for it. So, everybody's like, "Oh shit, he's taking liberties." I was like, "No, man, Rick, I'm not stupid." I'm like,
Right.
I'm 160 pounds, man. I ain't trying to take liberties on Rick Fuller, But I love Rick, but it was just funny because like people thought I was just in business for myself. No. He told me to do that, But yeah, it was a good time, man. I'll always love NWA New England. I'll always love that. I'll always have fond memories of that. That was a good time, man.
Big Rick Fuller, one of the greats to come out of the New England area.
Yeah,
Of course, had a run in WCW. He worked for Tony Rumble and the CWA. And I mean, he's worked everywhere and had a
yeah.
great career. What are some of your other memories of Rick since you've known him since you were a little kid? Anything come to mind?
Well, Rick, man, like just watching him grow and progress. You know what I mean? When he first started, he was in Yankee Pro back when it was like NEW New England Wrestling, and he was part of the Lumberjacks. It was a tag team, him and another guy, and just watching him go from that to like I remember like seeing him debut on Nitro, I believe it was, and just being like, "Wow, man, that's so cool!" Like that's so cool that he got that experience, And then getting the WCW Thunder game, and he was a character in it, like that's always been I think that's the one that gets me the most, is seeing my friends when they become video game characters. Like that's the one. That's when it finally sits in. Like wow, man, they made it. Like they made it.
Yeah.
But Rick, my biggest memory I have about Rick is just how good of a dude he is. Like Like he was always respectful. He was, honestly, like he's like the independent version of the Undertaker. Like the guy who commands respect in the locker room, and the guy who, like, you don't want to disrespect him because he will make you respect him, but he's not out of his way to try to put anybody down. He's willing to put anybody over. He's willing to do business. He's just an all around good guy, man. Like
Yeah.
just a guy that you can look up to, and a guy that, I don't know if Rick is still working or not out there.
He's
No, let's say, because he'd be a guy that could really help a lot of like young guys really get the right mentality for the business. Like great dude, man. Great dude. I love him.
And what was it like having your mom in the business before you? You entered the business, and then your mom is still there, still doing her thing. What was it like working with her and in the business at the same time as her?
Honestly, for the most part, my mom did her thing and I did mine. Like, she might be managing somebody that I was working with or whatever, but we never really overlapped too much. We never, none of our storylines were ever part of each other or anything like that. It was always fun because, like, she got to see all my matches. She got to see, front right there when I would do things. I do remember one that will always stay vivid in my head, man, was it was a Primal Conflict show, and she was part of Team Primal, and that was when I was doing my whole feud with Team Primal. So it was after a match I'd gotten screwed over somehow. So they get in the ring, and my mom kind of whispers to me. She says, "Hit me, I'm gonna juice. I'm gonna blade." So I looked at Donnie, Dudley Steve Stallion, and he nodded. So I'm thinking, like, the one thought process in my head is like, if you're gonna bleed off of one punch, it's got to be a serious punch.
Yeah.
So, bro, I blasted my mom right in the forehead.
Oh man.
Like, I boom, potato there. And it's funny because, we had the Primal Mark Squad where they were in us a bit. So some people in the crowd knew that was my mom. Not everybody, but some people knew. But on the videotape, you can actually hear one person go, "That's his mom." Yeah. But
Oh wow.
yeah, that'll always be a fond memory of mine. It was like, "All right, mom," boom. I hit her, and but it was cool, man. Like, it was definitely cool. Again, that's another thing that I wish I was in the proper headset back then. Like, I wish I could have enjoyed being in the business with my mom as much as, like, I look back on it fondly now. Like, I wish at the time I enjoyed it more and recognized it more for how cool it was that I'm spending all this time with my mom and getting to do this with my mom. And, like, I see it now because with my daughter, like, my daughter and I go to concerts together all the time, and it's like, to me, it's amazing that my 18-year-old daughter wants to hang out with her dad and go to shows, and we listen to the same music, and have the same, like, I'm watching her relive my childhood at concerts. And I wish I could have experienced that with my mom as far as wrestling goes, like her seeing me go through it, and, like, but I just, I had some things I had to learn about myself and about life.
Well, Derek Destiny, another person that you brought up, of course, big part of New England for a long time, known as Old School Derek Destiny at one point. He was a schoolboy Derek Destiny. And initially there, he kind of had a little take on the RVD nickname, and he was Mr. Tuesday through Sunday night,
Yep.
Derek Destiny. So what are your memories of Derek and, working with him over the years?
Well, on a funny note to that, the whole Rob Van Dam gimmick actually kind of ended up getting transferred over to me. He gave that to me, so I became Mr. Tuesday through Sunday evening. I was doing the Rolling Thunder, but I called it the Stolen Thunder. But Derek Destiny, man, that's another guy that I traveled for a long time with. We were married for probably 5 years, wrestling each other I think we wrestled each other for every company that there was, and we had at least one match against each other for every company there was. But like I said, man, he used to come over to my house, and we would sit there for 8-12 hours a day and just watch tapes. And I mean, we did this constantly. Like, this was a daily thing. Like, he would work and then come over to my house, go home, work, come over to my house. And he was big on tape trading, and so was I. So, like, we were just always getting footage and just really deep diving into the business. We watched a lot of Japanese stuff, a lot of FMW stuff, a lot of Michinoku Pro. Derek's got a great mind for the business. He's got a great mind for the business. Like, he knows what's up as far as, you know, where to find talent before it's discovered. You know, like he knows where there's like pools of talent. And yeah, he's a great dude, man. He's funny. He's funny. I love him. I love him. Another great guy, respectful all the time, man. Another guy that I'm very blessed to, especially the state of mind I was in back then, to still be able to call my friend. Somebody that, you know, was a true friend to me and stood by me while I was, you know, a jerk. and you know, not the nicest of people, but I'm very blessed to have called him, to call him a friend, and have had him be part of my life and my career. Very blessed.
And two other guys who were a part of hardcore wrestling for quite a while, tri-state area, but occasionally in New England as well. Diamond Dave Donovan, and another one being the Astro Man. Any memories of either of them?
Astro Man. I love Astro, man. Astro booked me and Zach Mason to wrestle each other on a show that he had out in like, I want to say it was like Billerick. I can't remember the exact town, but I think Zach Mason and I were the only two white guys on the show, and it was you know, it was a good time. But I always liked Astro. Astro was great. He was crazy. That dude would go hardcore. Like that dude would. I don't think there was anything you could suggest to him that he wouldn't be willing to do.
Yeah,
you know, like he was crazy. Diamond Dave Donovan. I'm just gonna say he's Diamond Dave, and not deep dive any deeper into that one.
Yeah. Don Juan DeSanto, another person that you brought up. He was, I think you said John 3:16 early on. What are your memories of Don Juan, Sandy?
We spent a lot of time together, especially when we first started teaming up as the Throng of Apocalypse. Another thing of, you know, like one of us constantly at the other one's house. Him and I, we did a lot of just like planning things, and then like going over spots and practicing we did a lot of practicing together, you know, like a lot of just working out together and just trying to get things fluid and motion fluid and going. Probably one of the best big men in the business as far as, you know, the independent scene goes. Watching his progression was amazing too, because you could see there was a raw skill in him at the very beginning, like when he first started as John 3:16, but like his talent just bloomed naturally and very rapidly, like especially in that transition from being John 3:16 to being Don Juan DeSanto. His development happened so fast. TJ Richter, myself, and Don Juan DeSanto actually worked a three-way dance for a charity show that Bob Evans had put on. And I'll be honest with you, I was never a big fan of three-way dances. It's hard to get the psychology down. You know, it's hard to have them make sense and tell a good story and have it make sense as to why is this guy just standing there, or why, you know, like involving that third wheel is it's not impossible, but it's a complicated thing to do. And that match is the only three-way dance I've ever been in that I truly enjoyed and feel like it gelled, other than the three-way dance between myself, Jose, and Kevin Charisma once we had become Impact Inc. And it was a match where Impact Inc. had to wrestle each other. So we could kind of tell a story with that. So kind of, again, we were able to integrate that whole separation of a guy for a minute and have it make sense, you know, or you know, where any other time it was just hard to pull off. But that one with me, TJ Richter and Don Juan DeSanto, it made sense and it worked. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And Sandy was another one. He would you throw an idea at him, he's down to do it. He's down to do it. You know, go over it a couple times, make sure it's done safe. And I remember my debut match as Vertabreaker. So at the time, PLW didn't allow blading. They didn't allow juicing, you know. And I really wanted to bleed. I really wanted to blade. And so me and you know, Sandy had a plan where I would blade and make it look like it was hardcore, done the hard way, you know. And right before the match, I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I don't want to, Sandy, I don't want you to get involved. Like, I don't want you to be involved in that kind of thing, you know. Like, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna blade. And he's like, all right, cool. So we go out there, and there was a spot where I would hit him with the chair, hit myself with the chair, hit him with the chair, hit myself with the chair, hit him with the chair, and throw the chair. Well, because I was hitting myself with the chair, I was protecting him with the flat side of the chair. So I was hitting myself with the wrong side of the chair. So the lip of the chair hit me in my head and blew me right open, man. Wow. I didn't even know it at first. So So I get in the ring and I slide in the ring, and I realized that, I can feel the warmth running down my face. So I'm like, oh, and I see the drip of blood. So I start rolling out of the ring as Sandy's rolling in the ring. Sandy looks up at me and sees me bleeding, and his first thought is, he did it without telling me. so so it wasn't until we got to the locker room and talked that he thought the whole time that I bladed anyway. And I was like, no, bro, that was look at that scar, man. I busted myself. But yeah, it's just I remember him looking up and going, you did it anyway. I was like, yep. Yeah, I love Sandy, man. He was a good time. He had this funny thing too. He would scream while like say things while bumping. Like we had done a spot where I reversed a move and hit him with a Mexican head scissor out of the ring. So the next time we did it, while he's bumping, he's like diving through the ropes on this move, and he's like, "Oh no, not again!" Like he was just he could do that Chris Candido comedy, but serious comedy. Like it's funny, but it's not comedy spots. Like I don't know, it's a very very specific thing that very few people can pull off, but Sandy could do it. Sandy was great with that, man. I loved working with him, man. I did. I miss so many guys out there, man. It's been so long.
And what's your synopsis on New England wrestling as a whole during the time period that you were there? There were it was very territorial. So even though there were a lot of promotions to work and there were a lot of talents crisscrossing to different promotions, there were a lot of promotions that didn't want you working for somebody else, and they didn't get along, and the promoters were always kind of at each other. What's your take on that?
Honestly, the only one that I experienced that with, and it wasn't even really bad, and it didn't really affect me as much as it did a lot of other guys, was honestly Yankee. Nobody ever really had any issues with me working for anybody else. And Yankee, luckily, I got kind of lucky with Yankee where I got brought into Yankee by Silvano Souza when he was booking, and he ended up doing this like kind of like this Yankee tryout show for the guys from other companies. So I kind of got to get into Yankee under the understanding that I was from other companies, So I didn't come in as a Yankee guy and then try to work for other companies. But Joe Eugenio, when he was running it, he was very kind of adamant about you don't work for other companies. Like I remember some of the guys that worked for Yankee were coming in to do a promo show and they had to use different names so they wouldn't be, so Joe wouldn't find out that they were running, working for this, this other company. But I never really experienced any of the don't work for either, anybody else. There was a little bit of an issue with Primal Conflict and Mayhem come the second Primal show, and Mayhem Independent Wrestling was doing their thing. They were kind of at each other's necks, and they had a show on the same date. And it wasn't so much don't work for the other guy. It was just that they were both trying to get me to work for their show, that night. And I ended up making the decision to work for Primal, mostly based on the fact that my kid's mother was pregnant with my second son. So I wanted to be local because Mayhem show was like out in New Hampshire or way out in Mass. Like it was hours away, and I wanted to be closer just in case. So that was the main catalyst for me deciding to do the Primal show. But Randy, the promoter of Mayhem, was very cool about it. Very, I kept in contact with both of them as I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And Randy was very cool about it. Didn't no animosity, no hard feelings when I picked Primal over him because he understood why. So I never really experienced any of that exclusivity issue, but I did experience, seeing the friendly competition between promoters and companies. But it seemed to me like everybody that we all worked together, like you said, there was a lot of kind of transition, a lot of weaving in and out of everybody. Like everybody's kind of like, it wasn't always the same group of guys, but like there was always somebody else that you knew from somewhere else on a show, so it was always some weird, stew of workers from different companies.
Sure.
Yeah. But as far as I know, Joe was the only one that was really big on not having guys work for other companies.
And you mentioned Jose Perez being, one of your favorite matches, the match of the year match. If you had to pick three, what are your top three matches that you've been a part of?
Myself and Jose Perez, Wrestler of the Year for Primal Conflict. Myself and Z-Bar, our blow-off match at Back and Jack for Primal Conflict. And myself and Tiger Khan. Not the one where I won the light heavyweight title, but the one before that at Club Stars. where we did the glass, we did the fire spot. Those are three of my that was the first night that I've ever gotten a standing ovation from a crowd, and like that will always sit with me. And I think myself and George busted our asses that night to put on a match, and I think we pulled it off. So those are the three I would have to pick: is myself versus Tiger Khan, myself versus Jose, and myself versus Z-Bar as my top three favorite matches of all time.
And then what would you say are your top three matches that you weren't a part of, whether it be in the New England scene that you've witnessed or television, WWF, no matter where it was?
Three of my favorite matches.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna have to go with. I've got to do two as one because it's so hard to pick between the two. But the two back-to-back Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches.
Oh yeah.
For WrestleMania, those are just those are clinics, man. Like those are wrestling clinics. Like if you want to learn how to tell a story, watch those matches because that's just all that is telling a story. Probably Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, best 2 out of 3 falls. Their final match in ECW, and then probably Chris Benoit and Too Cold Scorpio at Super Brawl 3, which my debut match is Vertabreaker. I stole the finish from their match with they did a whole like sunset flip roll up, reversal thing where finally Scorpio gets the win with 1 second left. Like it's, they're doing the last 10-second countdown. They get to 3 and it's like 3, 2, 1, and to me that was mind blowing when I saw that. Like just the skill it took to pull that off the way they did.
Yeah.
There's some close, seconds to that. Like a lot of maybe Eddie Guerrero versus Owen Hart, or Owen Hart versus Chris Benoit in Japan. A lot of their Japanese stuff, amazing. A lot of guys that worked both Mexico and Japan. I would take their Japan stuff over Mexico just because Mexico was just a lot of no selling, constantly rolling through, high flying, going back and forth. Whereas Japan, it was more grounded and technical and like impactful. It was a strong style. So I would definitely have to pick anybody from Mexico's Japanese stuff over their Mexican stuff, though, for sure. But yeah, I'd have to say those 3 matches technically would be my favorite matches to watch.
What advice do you have for somebody who's maybe just looking to get into pro wrestling? They want to be a wrestler themselves.
Take it slow. I know it feels like you're Superman now, but years down the road, it's going to take its toll. So do the best you can to preserve yourself now so you have a longer career. I did a lot of crazy things when I was younger. But luckily nothing that was so extreme that it really damaged me. I watched people like Darby Allin, man, and I'm like, man, his career is going to be short. Like even if he doesn't get that terrible injury from doing something, ridiculously crazy, his body's only gonna be able to pull that off for so long. Like there comes a point in time where you've got to protect the longevity of your career if you want to have a long career. So I think that would be the main thing, is just like, take it slow, man. Take it slow. Build to it. Make everything you do worth something. And that's something which I wish I had followed when I was younger. Was, it's okay to do the hardcore. It's okay to do something crazy, but make it worth it. Make it worthwhile. Make it the payoff to something. Like that's a big thing in my head now. Is build up to it, increase to it, and then boom, then they're attached to it. They're locked in it. And that's why I'm really enjoying this rebirth of technical wrestling and the crowd loving the audience, the fans loving technical wrestling, because they're not hunting for that big spot anymore. They're not hunting for that big next crazy thing. So when that next crazy thing does happen, it pops them. They appreciate it. They love it. Right. So it's cool to see that resurgence of technical wrestling, where that impactful stuff and the high spots and the hardcore have a meaning and value now again. But yeah, people like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything negative about Darby Allin. I watch his matches and I'm like, man, like, you're gonna end your career quick. Like, you're gonna end your career early. Like, you doing that, you're not gonna have a Ric Flair length career. Like, you're not gonna do that. 300 nights a year for 50 years and still be able to bump. It just you can't do it, you know? So that would be my main thing. That, and just, don't be afraid to listen and learn, man. Just listen and learn, you know, like just watch people, listen to how they put things together, absorb it, man. Like just absorb everything you can about the business. But yeah, definitely above anything else, my advice would be to protect yourself in the longevity of your career. You know,
What would you say are some of your favorite venues over the years wrestling in?
I loved Club Stars. Loved Club Stars. Probably just because it's a nostalgic feeling to me with the whole run of Primal there. The PAL Hall. I really liked the PAL Hall in Fall River, Massachusetts. Only because I went to so many shows when my mom was before I was wrestling, when my mom was wrestling, and so many big shows there where it was just, and it was that solid fans that knew the storyline. They followed it. They you know, you could tell a story and have a long term story and angle, and they followed it. Where it was just like, I was always like, man, I want to work this building. Like I built it up so much when I was a kid of wanting to work there, that when I finally got to work there, it was like, you know, it was like, yes, I'm finally here. You know, so PAL Hall will always be one of my favorite places to work. Any place with small ceilings, I was not a fan of. You know, but there's one that I enjoyed, man, and that was the Seekonk. Was it the VFW?
The American Legion,
American,
post 311.
Yeah, but that one again, it's just because so many people, so many companies ran there, so many shows were there, it became a home. You know, like we knew the bartenders, we knew everybody there. You know, you knew how you knew how low the ceiling was, so you could work with it. You know, like it just there was so many shows that place became like a home. So I'd probably say those three would be my top three favorite: PAL Hall, Club Stars, and Seekonk. Just because, and again, Seekonk because it didn't matter what company was there; it was the same fans.
Yeah. Exactly.
You could tell a story from one company and be in another company and just continue that story on if you wanted to, because same people followed it, same people went there. So yeah, that was fun. Definitely enjoyed that.
Memories of Studley Steve Stallion, Donnie DeLuca, the owner, of course, of Primal Conflict.
Donnie, man. Donnie will always be one of my favorite people in the business, especially as a promoter goes. Especially through all the different entertainment, facets that you've done. There's that, promoter blowing smoke up your ass that always happens when they want to pull you in. And when Donnie was first putting together Primal, I had known Donnie again from when I was a kid. Before I was in wrestling, I had known Donnie. Donnie had run Elite Champion. I think it was Elite Wrestling, or I want to say it was Elite. But Donnie had his company, booked me on one show, but that show ended up getting canceled, so I never worked for him. I was doing a charity show that Draven and Mad Dog Matt Storm had put together, I believe. I think I was filling in for Dave Padula, who couldn't make it or something like that. And Donnie was there, kind of setting up Primal. And came up to me, he's like, "Oh, bro, I got big plans for you. I got big plans for you." And my mentality was kind of like, "Yeah, whatever, dude. Like I heard that a million times before. I mean, I'll come work for you, but whatever. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket." And did 3 shows for Donnie. And just, I felt like there was no direction to it. So I quit Primal, but it was no animosity, I just told Donnie, I was like, don't book me anymore. We were cool. We still talked, still friendly, whatever. Just didn't work for him anymore. Had one show off, got hurt. Very first person to call me was Donnie, man. I was working for Yankee and I got hurt. First person to call me was Donnie, talking to me, checking on me. And the first idea in his head was, he was like, "Hey man, let's do a no bump angle just so you can stay relevant. So that way, while you're out on this injury, people don't forget about you." Thought about me right away, started doing that. And then when I decided I was going to wrestle again, even though I was injured, Donnie was like, "Well, I'm putting you back on the roster, whether you like it or not, man. Welcome back home." And that led into that whole Primal run after that, and Donnie's always been loyal to me. Donnie took care of me. Donnie made good on all his promises to me. Donnie, he's a good friend, and like Donnie and I've always been able to separate the promoter and the friend angle. Like I would quit Primal, but never affected our friendship. After he closed Primal, myself and Tiger Khan did a couple of interviews, and I was very, very, very straightforward and very open about my negative feelings on what happened with the closure of Primal. And Donnie knew ahead of time what I was going to say. I was, not that exactly what I was going to say, but Donnie knew I was going to shit on him. and Donnie knew I was going to shit on Primal, but it wasn't about our friendship. It was about my opinion of what happened, not even my opinion of him as a promoter, just this situation. You know, we were always able to keep things separate and kind of compartmentalized. But Donnie's such a great dude, man. I love Donnie. Nothing but great memories about him, man. And like one of the few people that every promise he made me came true. You know, like he held good on every promise. You know, put me over. I mean, there was a short run there where I basically had the main storyline with the light heavyweight title instead of the heavyweight title, but it was I had that angle. You know, that whole main focus angle. And Donnie will always, in my opinion, be one of the main facets of everything that happened in my career later on. Everything that was great about my career or good about my career, I can root back to Donnie, because Donnie gave me a platform where I was able to flesh out Vertabreaker and become comfortable with that character and do what I needed to do to become what I ended up becoming, you know? And I think a lot of that came from Donnie and Jose, to be honest with you. I think they facilitated a lot of that, enabling me to become what I ended up becoming.
Yeah. What would you say is the greatest challenge of being a pro wrestler?
Well, if you can get over yourself, you know what I mean, and get past yourself, like understand, like and that was a big problem I had, just having an ego first off, but second off, like you've got to separate yourself from your character, you know, both for your health, because if you're living your gimmick, you're not going to live healthy, man. And it's not going to be healthy for you. Your emotional, your mental state, it's not going to be good for you. You've got to be able to leave that character in that locker room or in that ring, you know? But get over yourself, as in the fact of, like, if somebody wants you to do something, you can't look at them and be like, well, I wouldn't do that. That's not you out there. You know what I mean? Like you're out there to tell a story. You're out there to project a tale, you know? And sometimes you've got to do things that you as a human might not like or wouldn't necessarily really do, you know? So getting over your own ego and getting past yourself and being fluid with what the business needs is probably one of the biggest obstacles. So I think that's the hardest thing for people to do, is to separate themselves from their character, you know? Like they want to be Goldberger. They want to be whatever. And they don't realize, like, look, man, like, we're just here to tell a story. And you know, it's really about the fans, not about us. It's, you know, it's about giving them something. So that, yeah, man, I'd have to say that's probably the biggest obstacle, is just getting over yourself and becoming part of the machine, you know, part of the cog in the machine. I know that was a huge thing for me. That was a big problem for me. A hard thing to do. I took a lot of things personally that I had no need to take personally, you know? Right. So yeah, that would be my advice, would be just get over yourself.
And did you have a favorite referee to work with over the years?
God, there's some great refs, man. Holyoke Joe, my Uncle Jack Savage. My Uncle Jack was funny, man. Like, he had been in the business so long, worked for WWF, you know, been around old ICW. Like, my Uncle Jack had so much experience in the ring. Like everything was just like a laid back, chill event with him. Like we're doing a match and he's like down telling a joke, you know, like just laughing about things, or like, my Uncle Jack was fun, man. Like, and it's not because he was my uncle. It's just because he was a good time in the ring. Like, you know, like just telling jokes or telling stories while we're working, you know. So probably my Uncle Jack would be my favorite ref to have worked with.
2 tag teams in the New England scene that were pretty prominent for a while. Just some memories or anything that comes to mind. Sick and Twisted and The Damned. Sick and Twisted
and The Damned. Sick and Twisted was Mad Dog, Matt Storm, and Ivan Zangian, right?
Yeah.
I know they had a lot of hype with them, because Mayhem had been pulling some like crowds with having, you know, old ECW guys like Cronus in there, and their whole affiliation with Mason Dixon Wrestling. And I know that Ivan Zangian, I think he had some sort of like blessing from Gangrel, and so I know there was some hype around that. Plus, he was a big dude, you know.
Yep.
And he had Faith as his valet, and Matt was coming off the whole Dogs of War angle, with Kyle and Randy Blake there. So, but I really don't remember much other than them being doing the Outcast stuff with them. But the Damned, when Matt and Draven got together, they really shined, man. They really shined. Like they I know that they did a lot. They traveled around a lot. I know that's how the whole affiliation with PWF kind of came about, was them and Steve Carino becoming friends or having some sort of working relationship. I had fun with them, like me and Matt could always fall back on the whole Storm Brothers angle if we needed to, and Draven, I just never had anything but fun working Draven. Like he was another one where it was just, there was a chemistry there where we didn't have to worry too much. It was just kind of like, hey man, let's get out there and get crazy and have a good time and tear the roof down, and we could. I think that they deserved all the achievements that they got.
Yeah. And who would you say is your favorite promoter if you had to pick one that you worked for?
If I had to pick one, it's going to be Stud, man. It's going to be Studley Steve. Only because of everything that happened with us, like everything he all the pushing he gave me, all the things he did for me, like there's so many things that I can root out of my dealings with him. Like there were definitely promoters that were a lot easier to deal with than him. Yeah. There was definitely promoters that were a lot less stressful to deal with than him. But as far as loyalty and what they did for my career and that family environment, like Primal was like a family of outcasts, man. Like it was, like it was like all the dregs just kind of, we came together, but somehow we worked. Even like what shouldn't have worked, and Donnie was like the father at the head of the table on that. Like he was like the father that brought all these kids together. That was like, he was like, you're a screw up and you're a screw up and you're a screw up, but together you got something, and so it'll always be Donnie as far as just what we had and what happened because of it,
I got a two-parter for you. So first off, dream match, whether it be, you against somebody from today's wrestling or you against somebody from your time you just never got to lock up with. They didn't necessarily have to be a New England, star. And then the other side of that question, a promotion that you didn't work for, maybe you always wanted to work there and for whatever reason, schedule-wise, didn't work out. You just never got to work for that promotion.
Okay. So the answer to the first question, honestly, probably would be Trent Acid. Trent Acid. There are a lot of comparisons between me and Trent. A lot of people said, "Oh, you'd work great with Trent." Trent and I knew a lot of the same people and had a lot of the same friends, and it's just something that never got to materialize. And it's very disappointing, with what happened with Trent, that it could never happen. There's no, it could never happen. And that's always disappointed me because I've always thought me and Trent could really do something different and do something fun. As far as companies go that I wanted to work for that just schedule wise or whatever didn't get to, probably the latter incarnation of Chaotic. Because they were really doing some really good things, and it's not about the contract or anything. It was just like a lot of what they did was really it was good quality stuff, and they had a following. They were putting on consistent, steady shows, and it was just solid workers. I'd have to say either that or Killer Kowalski. Never get into not actually working for Kowalski. Like I would have liked to have worked for Kowalski. Because I grew up, as a ring boy for him, taking, doing the wrestlers' coats and, help set up the ring and stuff. So I'd been around Kowalski's for so long, excuse me, that I always kind of just figured I'd work there someday, and it just never got to happen, and that's because Walter was a great guy too. Like Walter was another one that was really influential in the beginning of teaching me a lot of the core elements. I wasn't a Kowalski student per se. Like I can't say I came out of Kowalski's. But I spent plenty of time in Kowalski's ring with Kowalski showing me things, or one of Kowalski's guys showing me things, and I learned a lot from there, So yeah, I'd probably say that honestly, that's probably a bigger disappointment than Chaotic, is not working for Kowalski.
You mentioned 2004 was your retirement, and now, fast forward all these years later, you're getting back into the business. Tell us about it and what we can expect.
Yes, sir. So right now I'm trying to map out a quality storyline. So what happened was, as I said, I walked away from the business completely when I quit, because like I loved the business so much and I was so wrapped into it. I couldn't just dabble in it. I had to just forget it and walk away. I mean, I didn't watch it on TV for 15 years or so. Didn't watch nothing, started to kind of catch little things here and there, and then I would watch a match here or a match there, and it just kind of slowly built up. And then finally, man, I was like, I really want to get in the ring again before I can't. I'm 46 now, so it's like I want to do it one more time before I can't do it anymore. And the other real driving force behind it was back in 2001. I was involved in a pedestrian vehicular accident. I was crossing the street. I got hit by a truck, and it did a lot of damage to me, man. The impact it broke my ribs, collapsed my lungs. It blew out my intestines. It broke my hip, broke both my legs. It sent me flying 40 feet. When I landed, the impact of landing, I broke my C3, my L3, and my L4. I was in the hospital. I was in the ICU for like almost 2.5 months, and then I was in regular med search for like another month. Had to rehabilitate. Walked with a cane for a while. So it's like it was this driving thing of like, can I do it? Like I want to push myself to do it. Like to have the ability. And so there was that damage, but then I started thinking about the fact of one thing I've got over a lot of my contemporaries is that I have 20 years off of taking bumps that they, like 20 years solid, they were taking bumps, and I have that time where I wasn't taking the bumps. So I just finally one night I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it before I can't anymore. So I made the decision and I made the announcement, and then I ended up talking to Brutal Bob Evans, who had some connections actually out here where I am in Salt Lake City. He connected me with Devotion Championship Wrestling. And I've been working with them, going down to their gym, just trying to knock the ring rust off, going to their shows, just seeing how they work. They're a great company. They're great guys. So I hopefully will be making my debut back in the business with them. I don't think I'm going to come back as Vertabreaker right away. I don't even know necessarily that I'm going to come back as Vertabreaker. I think I want to come back as one gimmick. I've got a gimmick. I've got an idea in mind. I want to do a lucha gimmick, but more of like a Psychosis style lucha gimmick. Like the bigger, more solid. So I'm a lot bigger now than I was. I've got the idea. I've got the character in mind, but I want to have that character eventually be unmasked to be me and just be me. But I want to paint half my face, so Vertabreaker is always kind of lingering in the background.
Yep.
And then if he's got to come out, he's got to come out, and that's why I was saying earlier, like, I kind of don't see Vertabreaker so much as the third Storm brother anymore, as much as I see him as me, as being me now. Like, we could always run that storyline if necessary with the Storms, but I think I've got a whole different story to tell now. Like, and I don't want to put too much out there, because I do plan on coming back home. I do want to come back home and do some things out there, because I want to kind of break this rundown into a 3-part cycle, where I want to start this comeback and then have this comeback lead into doing some matches that I've never done before, like matches with like almost like you said, dream matches, matches that people that I want to wrestle that I haven't had the opportunity to yet. And then I want to do a couple matches of just like one more time, me and this person or me and that person, just revisit some old things. And then have that transition, and I've got a transitionary story for that, where that'll lead into where, in the end, I just want to start putting over the younger guys, like giving them their shine, and helping them kind of hone their skills to be, to step up and do their thing. I realized, like I was talking to Bob Evans about this, and I don't have a trainer mentality. Like, I don't have a mentality where I can take all the fundamentals of the business and break them down into a schedule where I know at the end of this cycle, you're going to know all the fundamentals you need to go out there and wrestle. I know what I need to do. I know how to pull off what needs to be done, but I don't know how to, break that down into a segmented, agenda to teach somebody else. But what I know that I can do is I can teach somebody in the aspect of, okay, so you now know how to wrestle. You're good enough to get in the ring and have a match. I'm going to show you what it's like to be out there in front of the crowd and do this. And the things you need to pay attention to or should pay attention to, out here in the crowd, and what you want to watch out for, and what you want to, what you want to get across. So kind of like on a cleanup, like a cleanup or a polishing. So then that's what I would like to do, man, because I had plenty of people. I had some really good dudes that they stood by me, man. Like they were, pretty established as far as where they were, and like I said, I wasn't in the right state of mind, but yet they still stood by me, and they kind of kept me under their wing, like, hey man, like I'll look out for you. So I would like to pay that back now that I've got a much clearer head and understand how things need to be and can see things on a much broader view. I would love to be able to give that gift back to some people and help them progress their career, and like, because I mean, at 46, man, I know it's not. I know I'm not looking at a WWE career. I'm not looking at a contract. I'm looking to do this to, have a little closure in my life and have a little fun and do something I love to do. And if I can help somebody else get themselves to where they can have that career.
So any memories working with Thrash, another member of the UCW roster?
Thrash, yeah, man. I have we've worked I think we've only worked 3 or 4 times as opponents. But he was also part of the Outcast for a while too, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think he's the one that came up with the EOAK, the Equal Opportunity Ass Kicker tagline. But the first time we ever worked each other was for PLW, and we did a tables match, and we had gone through a table, and then he went to bust the table over my head, but neither one of us noticed that the metal chunk that holds the table leg to the table was still attached. Oh. So it dug in and scooped out like a chunk of my head. Like, oh,
man,
yeah, it was a pretty bloody event there. And then we did the thumbtack match for Primal. And we also did that charity event for where I first talked to Donnie about Primal. It was myself, him, and Adam Hasty in a 3-way dance. And then I believe for Hardcore Wrestling Federation, I did a thumbtack match with Thrash as well, in Seekonk, and that was kind of like the return secondary match of us doing thumbtack matches. But he was always easy to work with, solid to work with. He actually is with he's with my son's mother. They've been together for 20 years, 25 years. I don't even know anymore. Like, it's been a long time, but he's a great dude, man. Like Thrash is a great guy. I've got nothing but respect for him, and nothing but fond memories of him.
And you mentioned obviously your comeback. That's brewing currently, and we'll see you back soon in the world of pro wrestling. But fast forward many years from now, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered in closing?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That I did something, just that I did something that was remembered. You know what I mean? Like, just not even that. Like, I don't need to be a legend. I don't need to be, this legacy. Just to know that I had an impact on somebody. Like that I had an effect on somebody. That I entertained somebody for 10 minutes one night. Just that idea that I was able to take somebody out of reality for a few minutes and just give them, something to enjoy, even if they knew that it was, they know it's a work, and but just like, I don't know, man, there was something about that night, like I said, with Tiger Khan, where we got that standing ovation after our opening spot. And it was just like, man, like, they were into it. They felt it. We felt it. We felt them. They felt us. That connection, that just, there's just something about it, man. I think every wrestler will say that there's something about it when you go out there and you can feel that crowd and hear that crowd.
Yeah.
So I would like to be remembered for having that connection with them having that connection with me, that 10-minute bond or whatever it is, with the crowd, that we pulled it off and we had a good time, man.
Well, for Kyle Johnson, the Vertabreaker, I'm Joseph Bruin. This has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Joe, it's been great, man. It's been great talking to you. It's been great seeing you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure to have you, and we will see you guys on the next show. So don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.